All right, so our two parts of our thesis are our concrete, right? Plus, we move into our abstract by saying in order to, and then we get the abstract. Okay, so we go find our concrete from what we can point to in the prompt. Ready? Okay, so in the prompt we're looking at Reagan addressed the nation, right? That's our concrete. I would also say like the tragic loss of the Challenger. That would be our concrete. Got me? So your concrete is what you could put your finger on. The concrete is never write an essay that analyzes rhetorical choices. Okay? Sometimes your concrete can come in this task statement because sometimes it will say, you know, Reagan addressed the nation after the Challenger explosion. So sometimes it comes in this task statement, sometimes it doesn't. So I'm going to say the thesis statement, I'm going to do a little bit of tag. So sometimes we also kind of do the tag in there, right? I said that was like one of 3 sentences in your intro. I kind of combine it in here. So in 1986, President Reagan addressed the nation following the tragic loss of the Challenger. Done. There's my concrete. Okay? I'm a color person, just so you can see the different parts. Then my next step is in order to, right? And what I find with this in order to statement is I find that it helps me transition to the abstract easier, right? Now, with our thesis that we're going to look at, we may kind of address the idea of heroism and confidence later. We might try to create that in our thesis later. We might end up having like a 2-part thesis or a 2-sentence thesis. I need to see some samples from the College Board first before I start kind of maneuvering into that. But now we need an abstract. The abstract is not this. The abstract comes from these 2 ideas. So if we look at the idea of heroism and confidence, what ultimately is he trying to show us? In order to show what? In order to prove what? Right? So we need to find a bigger idea that those 2 things encompass. So talk with the people around you and see if you could figure out what is the bigger idea that could encompass these 2 things. Talk with people around you. You've got like 1 minute. Ready, go.
Strength of our nation. Like word is better. Strength of the nation.
I feel like it's something to do with it's like the human life nature of trying to counter unnecessary evil.
All right. Give me some ideas. What did I hear? In order to show what? Priscilla, you're being voluntold.
Perseverance.
Okay. In order to show perseverance. Okay. How do we persevere? Why do we persevere? Because of our heroism. How or why do we persevere? Because we have confidence. Okay. What else did y'all say? Parker, share yours.
Strength of our nation.
Okay. To show the strength of our nation, right? How do we have strength, or why do we have strength? Because of our heroism. Why do we have strength? Because of our confidence. That works, right? Because remember, our assertions answer our questions, how or why, to the abstract. So it's kind of like math. You can go back and figure out whether your answer is correct, whether it fits, by answering one of those questions. Does that make sense? Here's what happens. When y'all did timed writings in the past, granted, you never did really, probably many. Not in our heads, yes? Okay. When you did essays in the past about literature or whatever, where you had to go find pieces of evidence, how many times, or how many of you felt like I can choose the piece of evidence, but then when I start writing it, I feel like I'm writing in circles. I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again. I'm like summarizing. Yes, raise your hand if you've been in that. That, my friends, is what we call the circle of stupidity. Okay? It's a circle of stupidity. You know, like the roundabouts? Like you can't find your way out, right? Like you have to know how to get out, right? So what we do is when you are in that circle of stupidity, right, you have to stop and go, why am I here? Usually it is because this is not an abstract idea. It is a fact. If your assertion is a fact, meaning you can go to the text and point to it, then you are just giving me a summary. In the past, you have scored really well for those still. Because it still sounds right. Because summary is not wrong. It's just not right. Right? So when you feel yourself, and I'll tell you this over and over again, when you feel yourself saying the same thing over and over again, just in different words, like don't say American. That's not the audience. We say American citizens, circle of stupidity. Right? Same thing, just in different words. Right? So when you get there, you have to say, okay, stop, math check. Is this a how or why, and is this an abstract? Now, can we say it shows heroism, and can we point to it in the text? Yes, but we have to say it's here, here, and here. Does that make sense? Those three things add up to the idea of heroism, okay? So this is the foundation. If you don't have a solid abstract in your thesis, and you don't have a clear assertion that argues something, then you're just giving me a summary of the text, all right? That's literally what we did for Florence Kelly, was a lot of summary of text, okay? All right, so I'm going to go with, Parker, what did you say?
Show the strength of our nation.
In order to show the strength of our nation. Now, this abstract strength of our nation is abstract. This needs to be clear, concise, as few of words as possible. Notice we do not have any conjunctions, meaning there are no ands, there are no ors, there are no buts. When you have those ands, and this and that, then you're saying that I'm going to prove all these things. And most of the time you let me down to you only prove one, right? So now we say, why is our nation strong? Because we are heroic. Why is our nation strong? Because we have confidence in our programs. Does that make sense? How or why usually answers those questions. One may be a how, another assertion may be a why, right? They don't always have to answer the same how or why, okay? All right, there's a thesis. Dun, 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 dun. Notice this idea here is nowhere in our prompt. That means we have a good thesis statement. Okay? All right. Our first assertion then was, notice we say, like our first one is, we said in the first half, right? In the first half of the speech. Now, what this does for me, this is a transition, and it shows me organization. So, for me, the reader of your essay in the summer, sorry, this shows me that you are organizing your essay chronologically. Probably in the past, you have gone through and found like all these things from random places and then grouped them together. We work through a passage chronologically because what that does for me is that shows that you have purpose to your organization of your paper. That allows me to score your paper up because it is well organized. Plus, it tells me, the reader, how I'm going to read your paper. I can expect to read from the beginning to the middle to the end of the passage in your paper because that's how it's going to be. It's not going to be a Where's Waldo where I'm going to go in the beginning and then I'm going to go to the end and I'm going to put that in the first body paragraph, right? So for me, it helps me to read your paper easier, and that's what we want the readers to have in the summer. Okay, so in the first half, we said Reagan illustrates, oh no, characterizes, sorry, I'm on the wrong one. Where is yours? Yours is here. Reagan, sorry, characterizes. And listen, see how I mark out? We like to see those things in the summer. We like to see you go in. We like to see you mark. We don't expect a clean page. We're grading your essay as a draft, all right? So we like to see stuff marked out because what that shows us is that you're thinking as you're writing, right? So if we see you mark out, we see you do a little caret and write something above. We like to see that because that shows us your thinking as you're going, okay? That was just a screw up on my part, but there you go. Characterizes the crew, the Challenger crew, as heroic. That is not factual. We inferred that from multiple pieces of text, right? Okay, our first piece of text y'all said was the idea of like, we've forgotten the courage it took for the crew of the shuttle to be aware that they were aware of those dangers, but they overcame, right? So let's go find that in the text. Right here, right? So we're looking right here. And perhaps we've forgotten the courage it took for the crew of the shuttle, but they, the Challenger 7, were aware of the dangers but overcame them and did their jobs. Out of that part, what do we think are the most important parts of that quote?
Courage.
Okay, so we need to show the idea. We need to make sure we include that. And then I think this idea. Right? That's what I like. Okay. So now we're moving into our chunk. We have our assertion, and now we're moving into our chunk. So this is chunk number 1. All right. What are our parts of our chunk? Those are 2 chunks. So we have 2 chunks, but what is 1 chunk? What do I say goes into a chunk? Evidence, so we have embedded evidence and justification. Okay. So, in order to embed, we have been led to believe that Reagan says, quote, is embedding, not embedding. That's just words. You have to embed with context. Meaning, I'm going to go look at what's here, and I'm looking right prior to that, right? And saying, I have to paraphrase what's happening leading up to this quote. So you have to lead the reader into your piece of evidence. You can't just say, Reagan says, they were aware of the dangers, but where did he say that? What is in reference to? What is he talking about, right? So, what is he talking about prior to? So yeah, I mean, we're here. We can move past that, right? We can move past paragraphs 1 and 2. What is he saying right before the quote in paragraph 3?
We've never lost.
Another accident.
Okay, so it was another accident, but we've never lost one
In air.
in flight. Okay, so In the first half of the speech, Reagan characterizes the Challenger crew as heroic. He, I don't like the word addresses here. He recalls, I like that, good. He recalls the previous tragedy that happened on the ground. The previous shuttle tragedy that happened on the ground. And points out and I'm going to steal his word, and I'm going to go ahead and put it in quotes. We try not to do just single words, but like as a piece of evidence, but this is like a paraphrase, and I'm going to lead into a bigger quote, right? So courage is important for us because it's the courage and then it's the awareness afterwards that actually shows the heroism, right? Okay, so points out the courage, the crew. Now, I'm going to embed. Ready? Quote, "We're aware of the dangers." I need to go back and do that grammatically. Comma, but overcame Okay. Couple of things. Notice you do not have to use the ellipses when you go into the middle of a quote. So every time you go into the middle of a quote, I don't need to see dot, dot, dot. Because you are paraphrasing and it grammatically fits. I don't need the dot, dot, dot. When I see that this is in the middle of a sentence, I know that a sentence did not start with were. Right? So you don't have to give me that ellipses, dot, 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 okay? It still doesn't fit grammatically. He recalls the previous shuttle tragedy that happened on the ground and points out the courage, the courage the crew were aware of the dangers.
The crew showed while they were aware of the dangers.
The courage the crew showed, I like that, while they were aware of the dangers. Yeah, like that. That works. So notice how I have to make it grammatically fit. Does that make sense? So I paraphrase what came before it, right? Put it into my own words. And then I knew what I wanted to take, and I just kind of had to maneuver them together. We want to take no more than about a line and a half of text. So this is a line and a little bit. That's about what I want. I don't want lines and lines and lines of text. It's too much. Most of the time when you have multiple lines of text, 3, 4 lines, you only end up pointing out one thing in there and there's like 50 things you can analyze. So you disappoint me. Don't disappoint me. It's okay. You will sooner or later. I disappoint myself. It's fine. It's fine. So don't give me the promise of, ooh, they chose something amazing, and then give me one sentence of analyzing like the diction, right? So we just want to find the really important parts. But notice for us, for rhetorical analysis, you cannot paraphrase language. If you're giving me a piece of evidence for rhetorical analysis, we are analyze language. If you paraphrase or summarize a piece of language and then try to analyze it, you've devalued the language itself, right? The value here is in the courage, right? Being aware and overcoming. That's the power of the language. With me? Now we've embedded text. Okay. Now we have to talk about justifying it. How does this show heroism? Look at your purpose on your RSA, on your golden or on your yellow pages on your RSA. Look at the questions that we want to look at, right? The questions from purpose say, what does it make the audience think, do, believe, feel, right? All right. What specific audience does this piece of evidence focus on? What audience that we identified for Reagan can we say that this could be targeted to?
Families.
Okay, families of who? I mean, I think we're talking bigger than the families now, right? I mean, I think we are addressing the families, obviously. But does this idea of bravery, I think we could analyze it to, okay, let's go with multiple pieces. Okay, so, this idea of overcoming a known danger allows the families of the crew to think, do, believe, feel. To what? To feel what?
Loud.
Okay, to feel proud. Why?
Because they were heroes, but
You can't
say it.
You
like
can't say that. So,
They
because their sacrifice shows what? Look at the definition of a hero. And then we're still going back to like our thesis. Look up what heroic means. Look up what a heroic trait means. What does it mean to be heroic? Okay, sorry, the last group said bravery. So bravery would work there. What did we say was the definition?
Having characteristics of a hero,
Very brave. Okay, good. Was still in last class. Okay, so the crew to feel proud because allows the families of the crew to feel proud because their family members, or no, because I want to say these astronauts I don't like the word showed again. Showed
The highest form of bravery and laying it down.
the highest form of bravery by sacrificing their life for the greater good. Oh, that's good.
Wouldn't it be lives or just life?
Could be either. Yeah.
Would it be sacrificing because like they didn't know like they were gonna die? Wouldn't it be more like risking?
I like that. Yeah. Good. I like it. Okay. Is there another audience that we think?
Children watching.
Okay. So let's talk about the children watching. That's what? But this isn't. The event was, what is this? How is this making, how is that remedying what the children saw?
So they were doing it
Okay, so, for the school children watching, Reagan demonstrates what? Think, do, believe, feel. Talk with the person around you. You know, I hate when I tell y'all to do that, and then y'all like don't talk to me, and then y'all immediately turn and go blah, 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 blah. Talk to your partners. Go. Now y'all like, I'm not talking.
Yeah, think of them as heroes instead of just.
Yeah, because I don't know if the children
Yeah. It's probably complicated explosion.
yeah, but
The demonstrators.
Is this anybody from this class?
Can't say think of them as heroes.
Oh yeah, it's kind of hard.
All right, are y'all ready to talk to me now?
The ultimate example.
We can't say what we've already seen. How does this personally affect the school children?
Be better in speech.
Do what?
Be better in speech.
The speech.
Okay.
That piece of evidence specifically. You fools were just talking to each other. Y'all better talk to me.
Allow them to think of them as more like heroes, but giving the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah, we've already said that, right?
I think it re-inspires them.
Okay, inspires them to do what?
To keep pursuing STEMs, like, I guess that's one thing.
Okay.
It might be discouraged from going to, what would be the major behind it? I think an astronaut, like,
Yeah, I mean, so Reagan demonstrates the need for these types of people or discoveries, right? You're being voluntold again?
No, that's fine.
Do it. If it's wrong, I'll tell you.
Like, he's being optimistic about this tragic event and just showing, like, the bright side of it.
Okay.
No, like, it's terrible. It's yeah.
Okay. Couple of things. Yes, I like it. One, I want us to stay away from cliche words, right? You're going in the right direction. Let's try to find a way to do that without being cliche, right? Sugarcoating, we sugarcoat things when we kind of want us to like look over it and like move past it, right? But he is trying to change that.
I think he's using it as a stepping stone to show how we're moving forward rather than going backwards. Like, I think he's showing that this is like a necessary event that is to move forward in a progression. Yeah.
No, but we don't want to take our second one, right? So Reagan, Maddie, did you have something to add?
I was just gonna say it's like he's trying to inspire the kids, but also like I feel like some people would take it the wrong way. They'd be even more scared because of it.
That's what he's trying to dispel.
Yeah.
Like he's, I would be scared.
Me too. Listen, I don't even like going up on my roof, right? Okay. Adrian, no. Ardeen.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I was just gonna say, like, Walker, like the necessity of failure.
Yes, demonstrates for the school children. Okay, so that's important for school children, right? The idea that we're going to fail. You're just not going to fail too soon, explode in space. But is that too soon? But I mean, that I like that idea of we're in a school child's mind. We're going to fail a lot, right? Okay, so For the school children watching, Reagan demonstrates the necessity of failure. Walker, what did you say?
How it's necessary to to innovate, really. I mean, like,
Demonstrates
what did I say? I
This
said,
is
a stepping stone rather than like
cliche. Demonstrates the necessity of failure.
Progress.
It's kind of like saying, like, he's kind of like bringing like words of wisdom to like.
Yeah, but what are those words of wisdom? So, demonstrate. So here's what happens. And Cedar, like, it's great. That's what, absolutely. But here's what happens is I call that fluffy. They're words of wisdom. Yes, they are. But what are they, right? Like, for what, right? So we've got to fill in that blank. So I like the idea of demonstrates the necessity of failure as a form of growth, right? Or no, here, how about you say this? Demonstrates not the necessity of failure. Demonstrates failure as a necessity for growth. Yes? Ooh, that's really good. Dun, 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 dun. Look at how much time that took us to kind of go through the ideas. So when we're working in groups, right, to write, that's why we work in groups. So we go, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Okay, let's combine you, and let's put these together, right? That's the whole purpose of us working in groups. That, my friends, is half of a body paragraph. Your job now, and you'll have like 3 minutes tomorrow, is to write the second chunk of this same assertion. So your second piece of evidence that you chose, you could have chose this one. I don't care if y'all choose another one. Get into your Reagan groups, and you are writing a second assertion of this. Ready, set, go.
I was kind of messed up.